Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is Pi Day, apparently. That's March the 14th, 2019. Strong hand, offended by selling. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. Unconfiscatable. Personal responsibility is the new counterculture. In motion. Well, those last two sayings, in motion. We've got a guy that's in motion here today. David Akers is here. But he's going to talk about some personal responsibility because it's an issue over at HitBTC, apparently. Now, I'll give a little background on this story that only I've been covering in a few other publications, I guess. But on video, you've only heard about it here. And I think it's a huge story. HitBTC said because of the Bprivate coin burn that they lost 58,000 Bprivate, and they needed the Bprivate development team to send them over 58,000 Bprivate to compensate. Now, this did not make much sense due to the way the coin burn was set up on the part of Bprivate and the deposits that were at HitBTC. The only Bprivate that should have been at HitBTC was Bprivate that had been deposited there by people who use the platform, and thus it would not have been subject to the coin burn. So I'm going to start at the very beginning to just try to make this as simple as for everyone to understand and see why this is a very important subject matter, because exchanges have been in the news lately of people keep coins at exchanges, and this might change your mind about that. I mean, you should have a strong hand anyway and be keeping all your Bitcoin on your Trezor, okay? I mean, there's no doubt about it, but this should maybe be the final nail in the coffin for some people. So, Dave, should I call you Dave or David? What do you prefer?
Dave's good.
All right, Dave. Well, thank you for being on today.
No worries.
And I want to start with when Bprivate was born. It was back in February of 2018. It forked off of Z Classic and Bitcoin, correct?
That's right, yeah.
All right. Now, and so everyone who controlled their Z Classic private key and everyone who controlled their Bitcoin private key, in theory, could have received Bprivate, correct?
That's correct. So the snapshot was late February 2018.
All right.
And then there was three days of fork merge that allowed people or allowed the coins to be created for people to claim.
Now, at that time, did HitBTC, they did not have Z Classic on their exchange, correct?
No, they didn't.
So they probably did not own any Z Classic at that time. They did no business with Z Classic at the time of the fork.
Nope.
So if they didn't get, at that point, they could not have gotten any Bprivate from Z Classic because they didn't have any Z Classic. But they did have Bitcoin at that time. There's no doubt about that. They controlled some Bitcoin.
They certainly did, yes. And
so they could have split the Bprivate at that time and claimed Bprivate. Yep. They could do that with any fork of Bitcoin and claim it and give it to their users. Because again, in theory, the Bitcoin that HitBTC, or at least a large part of the Bitcoin that HitBTC would have, would really not be theirs. It would be the people who trade on their platforms Bitcoin.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right. So that was the situation way back then. And then soon after, when did they start to support Bprivate? When did they start to have people trade Bprivate on there?
So I believe that it was May 3rd that the listing fee was paid. So it will have been shortly after that.
And how much was this listing fee?
The listing fee, I see you standing up. You might want to sit down. It was $500,000.
Yes, in Bitcoin. They required the developers to send them $500,000 of Bitcoin. Okay, and so that happened, and they listed the coin, correct?
Yeah.
And so people started trading Bprivate on there, and thus since they never supported the fork in the past, this was the first Bprivate, to our knowledge, that was put onto the exchange. And so that's normal. That's cool. They have a bunch of this new coin on there because people wanted to trade it on there. It was going back and forth, and things were going, I guess, swimmingly. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary. So we fast forward to this year, and a lot of people rag on Bprivate, and you can't. People who are watching this, don't let that distract you. If you don't like altcoins, if you don't like crypto dividends, if you don't like the situation with Bprivate, if you don't like RET, that's great. Don't let it distract you. I mean, that's the way you're going to do things. That's cool. Let's focus here though on what happened. There had to be a coin burn. The people at Bprivate, there was a problem, and they had to get rid of some of the coins, which I thought was a good idea. Less supply. So everyone was warned in advance. If you had Bprivate and you never moved it before, now you had to move it, and thus you would be cool. The coin burn will not affect you. Am I correct in that description?
Yes, you are. Yeah. So if you'd claimed it in March to now, then, or to the coin burn, you would have been fine. Yeah.
And when you say when you say claim, I guess followed all the instructions.
Yeah. So you use your private keys to claim your Bitcoin private.
Okay. Now we get to a couple days before the coin burn was scheduled, and the people at HitBTC, what do they say to you?
They asked for some technical assistance because they were having trouble claiming their coins, or their users' coins. There's some debate. You've read the legal letter. There's some debate over whose coins they were, but initially it was to claim their users' coins.
All right. Now, the legal letter is linked to below. Everything we talk about, including Dave's Twitter, it is linked to below. Pound that like button, because we're getting to the exciting part of the story here. Now, when they came to you guys and said that, did you think that was a little odd? Because, again, they shouldn't have needed any help with any coin burn issues, because all of the coins should have been deposited there by users.
Yeah, I think that the initial reaction, because it was so close to the coin burn, was just to try and offer some support to them, so that they wanted to claim these coins. So the developers rallied round and tried to offer the support. It became apparent fairly early on that they wanted to claim 58,000 BTCP from the team to compensate their users. But as you pointed out, who are their users at the time of the fork?
Exactly. And now I want to ask you about that number, 58,000. Now, when you're giving them this technical help, did they ever show you a wallet that could prove that at the time of the fork, they had 58,000 Bitcoin?
No, there's no correspondence that suggests that. It was one of the questions that I asked. If they can show the wallet, or the wallets that are involved, I could find those in the BTC blockchain.
Yes, so that 58,000 number right now, that's a pretty random number, right? Where are they getting it? I mean, we have no idea where they're getting that number from.
No, it refers to an estimate as well. In their emails, it's an estimate. It's never been a final number.
It's very strange. So you gave them the technical help. And another thing, it's very odd. They don't have. I mean, they're a cryptocurrency company. They don't have an on team. I mean, was this a difficult situation? I mean, you would think they would have someone on their team that knows how to fork off coins and move coins.
You would think so.
and it doesn't. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of what really happened. Okay, so the coin burn happens, and then they contact you guys again and said you didn't give them. What did they tell you afterwards? What did they tell you after the coin burn?
Afterwards, they came back basically and said, you need to give us 58,000 BTCP. And I made a note of it, actually, that the inference is, if you don't give us the money, we're not going to talk to you any further. And that was sent on the 21st of February, I believe. So 4 days after the coin burn. Now,
the thing is that they can't prove they lost their coins. I mean, because they did, and then they said you guys they kicked you off the exchange basically, but told the people who had Bprivate there that they could withdraw their Bprivate, right?
That's right, yeah.
So where's the lost Bprivate? I mean, that's a huge question. I mean, there is none.
Yeah, there is none. No, because it was never claimed from the fork. So HitBTC didn't support the fork. Therefore, those BTCP never existed.
All right. Now, they thought. I mean, what it appears to me, and again, this 58,000 number, 58,000 Bprivate, it could imply that at the time of the fork, that's how many Bitcoin that they had on their exchange, and they just want some free. I mean, they didn't know how to fork off the Bprivate. I mean, that's kind of hard to believe, and they want to be reimbursed for that. Now, if that is true, that means at the time of the fork, if they really had 58,000 Bitcoin, they had over at over $500 million worth of Bitcoin at that time. I mean, that's what they're. I'm not saying
that seems to be the claim.
That it seems to be, but at the same time, I don't know how naive they thought you guys were, or how naive they are to be requesting such a thing, because it is blatantly obvious that they didn't. The coins, their users' coins, were not lost, and were never in any. They were never going to be lost. So I mean, the question is, do they just? What do they do when these forks happen? Do they claim? I mean, whoa! One thing I'm going to say here. Is it possible? Let's go over one theory here. That they claimed their Bprivate. They had 58,000 Bitcoin, and they claimed 58,000 Bprivate. But they never moved them. Thus, they could have lost them. Correct? Is that possible?
If they'd claimed them and followed the instructions, then they wouldn't have lost them. If they'd put them in a wallet, they wouldn't have lost them.
Is there a way I mean, is there a way they could have lost them without? I guess if they did nothing to that Bitcoin private key, then they could have lost them, obviously.
Yeah.
But did they imply they had done? Well, no, that's the thing. Could they have done anything with that Bitcoin private key and not lost the Bprivate?
No, if they'd used the key, then they would have the funds. And throughout the whole situation over the last few weeks, there's been no proof, no evidence that they held the key. One of the first emails suggested that they were having some security issues in claiming the coins. So the email reads, "We can't transfer BTCP from the old addresses due to security reasons." So that was their statement. So they're suggesting that they have BTCP in old addresses there, but that can only be the case if they held BTCP before they started trading it.
Yes, but if they held BTCP before they started trading it, then wouldn't it have been impossible for them to lose it at the coin burn?
Absolutely, because it would have been in a wallet, it would have been moved.
Yes, it would have already been moved. I mean, it seems like they heard about this coin burn and thought they could blackmail you guys. I mean, that's all it sounds like. And they didn't understand what it was and the technical sophistication behind it. I mean, it just seems like they heard the word coin burn and said, well, now's our time to get some coins from these guys. We're going to lose. We're going to claim we lost some coins, and we're going to get some coins from these guys.
Yeah, I think that the whole thing seems like that they've misunderstood what the coin burn is, and it's clear from their emails what they're trying to do. That they had 58,000 BTC on their exchange during the fork, so they think that they're entitled to claim that. They talk about it's their custody system that they hold these coins. And I've asked for proof in Twitter and been ignored. I've asked for proof via a support ticket, been ignored. They're not willing to engage in any discussions about it. Cointelegraph, I believe, tried to get in touch with them, but they didn't respond. So the only situation that can occur that leaves them with 58,000 Bitcoin private is if they had 58,000 BTC on their exchange that belonged to their users. Didn't belong to them, it belonged to their users. So they should distribute, if they say they've compensated their users, so they should distribute that to their Bitcoin holders as at the snapshot date in February 2018. Yes. I did some sums actually. I've suggested at the time of the fork, those 58,000 BTC would translate into about $3.8 million worth of BTCP, with BTCP being around $65 at 10th of March. It's now worth $36,375 as of this morning. So there's $3.7 million worth of loss to the users of those BTC because HitBTC haven't distributed them to those holders.
Well, I'm getting the feeling that they definitely did not understand what a coin burn was. And that makes me think there's a lack of technical sophistication over there, and that they probably never claimed any Bprivate. I find it hard to believe with just what I've heard about them in these correspondences, they even understand. They might have never claimed it in the first place. There's no proof they ever claimed any. But if they did claim any, that's not good for the users because they never compensated their users that Bprivate. I mean, that's a whole nother story. I mean, we've got a few different stories here, definitely that are, and so I want to remind everyone. So the coin burn happened. Now, how many Bprivate are left in circulation?
So we're still verifying it, but the latest count is around 4.6 million Bitcoin private are left in circulation.
So these guys are telling you that they want over 1% of all the Bprivate in circulation now, or they're not going to allow people to trade your coin over there. I mean, that's what they're saying.
Basically, that they've also got around 420,000 Bitcoin private held in their wallet currently. So there's 10% of the circulating supply is still on the HitBTC exchange or in their cold storage.
Okay, so that's you've proven that also. So they're not lost. They didn't get burnt. Those obviously they could not have gotten burnt because they were all deposited there afterwards. I mean, and that's the bottom line of this entire saga of this drama, that no users fee nothing. And that's what they did in the letter. It claimed, or in their correspondences, they said users Bprivate was lost, right?
Yeah, they did have a tweet that said, "Don't worry, any private BTC private that you've got on our exchange is safe because our wallets were created after the fork."
Yeah. So and I did see that. And that was before this whole drama began. So they did. Yeah. They understood, or someone over there at least understood that concept, and And as everyone can see, if you want to get your Bprivate off of there, you can. It was not lost. So in theory, if they keep on saying that they lost Bprivate, what they must mean, if they're telling the truth, that they really lost it, that they never moved the Bprivate off of the private keys of the Bitcoin that they had back in the day, which wasn't really their Bitcoin, which was their users' Bitcoin. So it does, and or maybe they did claim it all and they sold it all, and now they just want it again because they think they can get it again. It's
I guess there's a possibility that they held that amount of Bitcoin themselves personally, because of the fees they charge, and they've got 700 coins listed on the exchange. That's $35 million worth of Bitcoin. So yeah, I think there are some possibilities, but the language they've used in their correspondence is that it's basically their users' coins, and they're trying to claim it from the SegWit.
There's at the time of the, well, you might not know this, but at the time of the fork, did they only, when they do transfers off of there, I'm not familiar with the exchange, do they only use SegWit? They don't, I would assume they only use.
I don't know. I've only investigated what they've been doing with the BTCP funds.
Okay. Well, this is it's definitely a weird situation. I don't think that the company would have 58,000 Bitcoin profit from their operations. That would be incredible at that time. That would, I doubt. I mean, we're getting into some pretty specifics here. Like the claim, this number, is it coming from how many Bitcoin they had on the exchange at the time, or a combination of how much Bitcoin they had on the exchange at the time combined with their own revenue and profits? I mean, that doesn't really matter because I
had a look back at trading of Bitcoin at the snapshot time. And on that day, 7 million Bitcoin were on exchanges, according to CoinMarketCap's volume. So there were 7 million Bitcoin traded on that day. So there was a huge amount flying around on the exchanges.
I'll say this: it doesn't matter if it was their own personal Bitcoin or if it was the user's personal Bitcoin. And they wanted to be private, and they never did it. If they never did the split for whatever they are, then it's their fault that they never did the split back in the day. And I mean, you told them how to move them, how to basically do the split a few days beforehand. So, and they didn't do it, or they didn't do it because there was no need to do it, because they already did it and they were just trying to get more coins from you. I mean, this doesn't. It sounds pretty bad. It sounds.
It doesn't make sense, and it looks like they don't have the competence to those forks. So I don't know what they do in the future. I don't know what they've done in the past, but certainly for this, they were unable to follow fairly simple instructions to claim those coins.
Or they do have the competence and they just want to blackmail you. They just felt like this could be they would gain the upper hand, and they have spun it in a way that they have done a good thing here by kicking you guys off. Yeah.
Yeah, I think people see that for what it is. That they've not followed up on their statement. They've not talked to anybody about it since they disintegrated Bitcoin Private. They informed their users that it had been disintegrated before they'd informed the team. So there's a very clear plan in place here of what they've been. Their lack of communication is astonishing, really.
Yeah, and I think we got to keep this story out there for a number of reasons, because it reminds everyone of, well, that if you keep Bitcoin on an exchange, that exchange might be getting every single fork out there and secretly dumping it all over the place for their own profit. And it does make you wonder what they've done with other forks. Maybe they've done nothing with the other forks. Maybe they don't have the technical sophistication. Maybe they are that naive. And if they are, then why do you want to do business with a company that doesn't understand what a coin burn is and how to move your coins before a coin burn? If they don't get that, then that's a big reveal also. But I have a feeling they do understand it, and it looks like they were just trying to get away with a big something that looks pretty shady.
Yeah, I mean, you say a big thing, but at the end of the day, the price has dumped since being delisted. But today's value of that would be $37,000. What is the gain for them of taking $37,000 worth of Bitcoin, worth of BTCP? It doesn't make sense from that respect to me. It was maybe double that, maybe $70,000 before it was delisted, but it's not a lot of money.
If they think they see the situation that the price of your coin has gone down a lot over time. They hear there's something called the coin burn coming up. They know maybe they made a mistake somewhere along the line saying, well, if we say we lost, since all these coins were burnt, we can make a claim that we lost coins in the coin burn. Maybe they thought that, and it was just a way to get $70,000 worth of a Bitcoin, or $70,000 worth of Bprivate, which they would turn into Bitcoin. Maybe there's some money problems over there. This could imply too that they are trying to nickel and dime people, and they thought this was a good way to get some extra coins. It seemed like something they thought they could pull off. We don't know what their situation is over there in terms of funds. This makes you wonder, though, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Who knows?
There have been questions about the solvency of a lot of exchanges, and everyone should, with any exchange you're dealing with, everyone should think every single exchange is not solvent, and that if you put any coin on there to trade, there's a possibility that they'll exit scam during the period that your coin is on there, and you'll lose it, because that has happened before. That happened with BTC-E. In the past, they just disappeared and exit scam. I mean, that can happen with any of these exchanges. There's no proof of few, if any of these exchanges can prove how much coins they really have, and if they're operating some fractional reserve type of system. And this makes you wonder, why suddenly do these guys need 58,000 Bprivate? Why that number? Why are they trying to pull this off? Or what are they could answer that, I guess. And they had a blog post which just said, no, we protected our users, or whatever I don't even know what the blog post said. So I guess there's some behind the scenes stuff for everyone to say what's going on. This has obviously freaked the market out about Bprivate, which is, I'm sure they understood it would do that too, and that they thought that with that in mind, you guys would pay the ransom. But I say, do not negotiate with terrorists. You don't. I'm not. That's you can. I'm not going to say they're as bad as terrorists here, but in crypto, in the land of crypto, this looks bad. That they're trying to blackmail. At least you don't negotiate with blackmailers. You speak the truth. You share the numbers, and you let the market decide. Let people decide if they want to do business. Because there's a lot of altcoin traders that are watching this right now. Again, I recommend people just stick with Bitcoin, but people are going to do what they're going to do. Does this sound like an exchange you want to do business with? No matter what they were trying to do here, there's something shady going on, and it's like we're living in the minor leagues here almost, in terms of not ready for some of these. Yeah. Some of these. It's the wild, wild west, and we should be ready to deal with companies that aren't ready for prime time. And this is definitely a not ready for prime time move, it appears on my part. Now, there anything that I've left out that you wanted to add?
I think we've covered it. I think you're right that there seems to be something very, very wrong with the whole situation. They've had the right to reply. They've had the right to reply to the legal letter that was sent on the 26th of February. There's been no response. They've had the right to reply to Cointelegraph and other media outlets that have been publishing the story. I've maybe given them a hard time on Twitter, asking them pertinent questions, and they've chosen not to reply. So they can solve all of the speculation by just replying. If they've got a response that's adequate. If they haven't got a response that's adequate, then we'll never know, because they're not going to talk.
Well, I wish there was something I just forgot what I was about to say. Unfortunately, with the hang on, let me think here. There was something I was going to say about the I've been traveling a lot, so my brain isn't back here, about the altcoins and oh yeah, you are their BPrivate is their customer in a sense. It's their partner, which paid a $500,000 listing fee. This is how they treat their partner. I mean, it's very strange. I mean, I know it's called a listing fee. That's all it entails. We pay you this listing fee, and then that's it. No customer service after that. I mean, maybe that's the way they do business. Apparently, it is the way they do business. You would think, since you did give them $500,000 worth of Bitcoin back in the day, that they'd be willing to work with you here and say what's going on. This is how they do. Again, so if you're starting an altcoin or whatever, people are watching this, if you're in the altcoin community, I would say never pay one of these listing fees, because look how it can end in the long run here.
Yeah. There was one other thing that actually has just come to my mind. The coin burn itself required a software update. The software was prepared and it was ready on the 31st of December 2018, and HitBTC actually implemented this software on their exchange. So where's the due diligence? How come they didn't understand what this software was doing? The only reason for this software was to burn coins.
Yeah, because they acted like it was a total surprise 2 days before the coin burn that there was going to be a coin burn.
Exactly, yes.
And they knew it was coin burn related, December 31st. And they also had a tweet that said, again, you referred to that tweet beforehand, that all users BPrivate would be safe. That was before they contacted you in panic mode too. So
it was, yeah, and they subsequently deleted that tweet.
Well, I read the legal letter you sent them. I don't know what kind of standing it had. I mean, they're based in Hong Kong, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys can be right, but they probably can get around like not compensating you. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, and
no, me neither.
So I think for publicity's sake, for getting the word out, that was a great idea. People can. That letter is linked to below. Remember, everybody, pound that like button if you're watching this. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TechBalt, TechBalt on Twitter. That's linked to below. Everything we've talked about is linked to below, including Dave's Twitter. I also want to remind everyone that tomorrow at the same exact time, 4 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, and that's 8 p.m. in England and 1 p.m. in Los Angeles, where I am, we have the This Week in Bitcoin show. Vortex is going to be on. JW Weatherman is going to be on. And Marty is going to be on from the podcast. So it'll be a good show tomorrow at the same time. So tune in. We've got times have been changing a lot, but tune in tomorrow. I did want to get that plug in there. All right, then. I think we've got everything in there. Again, people, control your own private keys so you don't get into these type of situations. And if you don't want to deal with such organizations, because to tell you the truth, everybody who deposited BPrivate on there is getting their BPrivate back. That's good. But
I'd like to think that HitBTC are more active in announcing the delisting and contact each of their holders by email to tell them to withdraw, because at some point they're just going to stop withdrawals as well. And I wouldn't like to see a couple of 100,000 people not claim their BTCP.
Well, that's what happened. That's what happened at Bittrex.
That's exactly what happened at Bittrex, yeah.
Yeah. So to the best of your knowledge, have they sent out a letter to all their BPrivate holders that you got to take it off?
I don't know, but I would suspect not. I think it's all in their tweet, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And you see, and it's kind of ironic because they kind of make a claim like you guys didn't tell them about the coin burn properly, but now they might not be telling their BPrivate holders over there about the delisting, and maybe Who knows? Maybe they don't have all the BPrivate they say they have, and they're hoping they can just shut it down before everybody.
I can trace how much they've got because I've been looking at the wallets. So their primary trading wallet, that I can see that they're transferring out funds to users because it's got the 0.001 fee on it. That particular wallet has had 20 million BTCP transferred through it over the course of time.
Through its lifetime.
Through its lifetime.
But since the announcement, how much has been moved off of it?
I've not been tracking how much has gone off it. I do know that yesterday that their funds went down to about 1,000 BTCP in their main exchange account, and 48,000 were transferred from their cold wallet. So I can see that from the 400,000 they've got in their cold storage wallet, it's being transferred into their exchange account to pay back their users as and when their BTCP.
Wait, I got a question about their cold wallet. How much BTCP is in the cold wallet again?
20,000 BTCP. So that's 10% of the circulating supply.
No, it's not. That's not 10% of the circulating supply. 20,000?
No, 420,000.
420,000. Sorry, I think it got cut up. Okay, there. Let's go over it. 420,000 BPrivate in their cold wallet. To tell you the truth, and that seems correct. It doesn't seem like they'd be insolvent in terms of it doesn't seem like they'd get more people claiming to have more BPrivate than that actual number. To me, at least. Okay, so I have no idea what they're trying to pull off here. I mean, maybe they're hoping also they'll make the last part of the game here. If you guys don't give in to them, they'll just again they'll say they gave everybody opportunity to take their BPrivate off. Eventually, they'll just shut it down and keep people's BPrivate who never move it. And there will be some people who just don't care or have died and won't move it, so they'll own that. But then there'll be people who complain too, just like with the I mean, there are people still yelling at Bittrex saying you stole my BPrivate, which in a sense.
So at the moment they're keeping the fees low for withdrawing, which is good, and there's no minimum amount as there are on some other exchanges. So I think everybody's got the opportunity to remove their coins from HitBTC, and obviously I would recommend they do so. That we want to get every BTCP off that exchange and back into circulation.
I recommend everybody to take all your coins off of HitBTC. Nobody should be storing any type of coin on an exchange. And again, this whole video has been a lesson in that, because what the heck are they doing at these exchanges? What is the technical competence level at these exchanges? What is the the moral level? What type of morality do they have when they try to pull something like this off? The whole point of cryptocurrency is that you're your own bank. You know what you're willing to, that if you've got your private key, that it's safe. You don't have to deal with all this drama that we've just gone over. And this is something that I've constantly preached on the show, and that's why I'm putting this out there. But I'm also putting this out there so everybody understands the current state of the crypto exchange ecosystem. This is the 13th largest exchange on earth, so they claim, in terms of volume. I mean, unless the volume is, everybody's faking volume, so you got to assume everybody's faking it. So yeah, they probably are. So this whole show. This is what the 13th largest exchange on the planet does with their cryptocurrency. These are the type of games that they're involved in, and it just shows you it is the wild, wild west out there. And for me, let it be the wild, wild west. Let it be the wild, wild west. It's very unfortunate that they took $500,000 worth of Bitcoin to start this. To list this, and don't pay listing fees. I hope they know. I hope that if you are on altcoin teams, that you know that you got to be careful. If you're an altcoin team, I would just say develop a very specific plan before you even create your altcoin. How are you going to market it? Who's going to list it? What type of listing fees, if any, you're going to have to pay? How technically sophisticated are these exchanges? Because clearly the exchanges play a tremendous role in the altcoin ecosystem. Which is unfortunate. These centralized exchanges do. Hopefully we'll have more BISC type alternatives in the future. And maybe you guys can list your coin over at BISC now. I mean, if there's
Well, we're exploring all opportunities at the moment, as you can quite imagine.
Yeah, I do say this. I see why the market has panicked. When you hear a story about there was a coin burn and the exchange says they lost coins because of the coin burn, and then they're being delisted from that exchange. Yeah, of course, people are going to start to sell and everything. But in terms of, technically, there's nothing wrong with the coin. The coin burn went swimmingly, and it solved the problem that they did have. Now there's a lot less of that coin. So I guess the final note is this. You still got a technical team working on the coin, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you're part of that. You're part of that group of people.
Yeah, I help out. It's worth pointing out that we're all volunteers. No payments have been made to any of the team for a long time. So the coin is existing on the volunteers in the community, and we get lots of drama. I feel that if this was another coin, there would be a lot more being made of this at the moment. But we've had our fair share of drama over the last year, and I think people just think, oh, this is more drama. But we really are trying to change this.
Yeah, I see people, because people don't like to think in this space. Some people do it, but there are a lot of people that just, a lot of loud mouths. They'll just say scam, scam, scam. And that's it. They're not trying to. Who cares what happened to that scam? Who cares this? Who cares? This is a big story. This because there's a lot of different coins listed on HitBTC. Okay, a lot of these people screaming, "No, I'll just ignore it because it's a scam." Some of their favorite coins are over there on HitBTC also, and similar things can happen. You don't know. All right. Well, I hope you guys you keep it up. Don't give in. I will say that. Don't give in to blackmail. It's absolutely silly at this point. Give us 1% of all the coins in circulation. No, that's we lied. We lied. Now give us 1% of all the coins. We make up a story. Now give us 1% of all your coins. But we can see this. Maybe they've been successful before. Maybe other exchanges have been successful before with this technique. Who knows? Well, I'm following the story. I want to see how once this all passes, once this gets resolved, what people think of Bprivate, what now with the knowledge that there's a lot less out there, what it does to the coin, and see. I mean, I want to know if other exchanges are going to list it, if they're going to ask for another. Are people still asking for listing fees? To the best of your knowledge,
we've had a couple of exchanges ask for listing fees in the last week, but they are significantly more modest, shall we say.
And do they want it to be paid in Bitcoin or in your coin?
At the moment, it's in Bitcoin. I've suggested maybe we ask them to take payment in BTCP, so that there's incentive for them to make it a success.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's and again, if you're making an altcoin, if you're doing a crypto dividend, a fork, an airdrop, that's something you should consider. Are the exchanges willing to take your coin in order to be a partner in its success? And that'd be a good I think that would be a good way to go, because then you don't end up in this type of situation where they can just change their mind and totally badmouth you and get away with it. But yeah, this is what happens when decentralization meets centralization. You can get some bumps in the road along the way. So I'm glad you've come to the show to explain your side of the story. HitBTC, you can come and you can explain your side of the story too, I guess. It's quite a story though, and keep on doing what you're doing out there, Dave. Spreading the word on Twitter. And again,
I will. I'll see if I can get myself unbanned.
Yeah. Well, he's got a good feed. He's got a good feed. Everybody should check it out. Okay. Final words on your part.
Well, thanks a lot for listening and showcasing what we've got to say. Hopefully things will start to gather momentum and we can get this resolved.
Yeah, I guess your perfect resolution would be they don't delist you guys and they stop asking for payment. And they just say, "Oh, we made a mistake," and life goes on, right?
I think the perfect resolution would be the opposite, actually. That they say, "We've delisted you, and here's your $500,000 back."
Oh, well, yeah, that's a good point, but that's not going to happen.
No, that's not going to happen. But that would be ideal. It would help us out with our developers, and we would be able to pay them. It would be the best. But we may not be looking at that successful outcome.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna see that one. But that would be great if they did. If they compensated you for this dilemma that they've created, or this saga, because it's not really bright yet. Yeah, I mean, because they've sullied the name of your coin, and by making up these accusations. So that's good. But now I don't think. Yeah, so it's good. I wouldn't want to do business with them anymore either. Keep. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to say that's it, dudes. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed. This is a different type of show today, but hey, we'll be back with the regular This Week in Bitcoin tomorrow at 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, 4 p.m. over in New York. And Dave, thank you very much for being on the show to explain, to get your guys' side of the story here. And I hope people learn a lesson from this. I'll just say that. Okay, I'm Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister. Pound that like button, bang that bell button, subscribe to the channel. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.